America's #1 national television program on Asia.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Yue-Sai Kan. A visit to Malaysia is an unavoidable and delightful plunge into one of life's greatest pleasures. Food. Glorious food. Eating is a national preoccupation here in Malaysia, and an endless variety of temptations have been created to satisfy the huge appetite of a unique mixture of people and cultures. Join us tonight for a celebration of life as we explore the culinary delights of Malaysia. Maybe it's the early morning scene that brings it all home to you. The first thing you hear is the Muslim wake-up call to the faithful. Carrying for miles, it drifts through the humid morning air and mixes with the sounds of the city. The first stirrings of traffic grind into gear beneath skyscrapers silhouetted against distant mountains in the ever-present rain clouds. It's a tough thing to pin down. Next to the very old is the very new. Existing side by side are cultures and beliefs as different as night and day. In fact, if you were to take a broad cross-section of Asian peoples, throw them into a giant blender like the ingredients to an exotic drink, and mix them vigorously for several hundred years, what you would probably come up with is something very much like the city of Kuala Lumpur. It's a cosmopolitan city of 1 million people, the capital of Malaysia. In a very real sense, this is the essence of modern-day Malaysia. Malaysia is a melting pot of Malay, Chinese, and Indian culture and religion. The food, the art, the lifestyles, everything has retained something of its original identity and character. Take the food, for instance. Food is a celebration of life in Malaysia. It's a national pastime. It could even be a national sport. Food, glorious food. Anywhere you go in Malaysia, you'll find it. Here a vendor cooking and hawking satay on the street. Here a man on a motorbike, a kind of half-bred will-travel hero, braving the helter-skelter traffic. Here in an Indian hawker selling curried beef and rice, spicy enough to make beads of sweat run down your forehead. There a vendor with a cooling drink made from local fruit. And everywhere, the obvious and happy commotion of choices. Most first-time visitors to Malaysia will gain weight, and it's easy to see why. Almost every aspect of Malaysian social life involves food. It's completely unavoidable and delightful. Take, for instance, a visit to the Yasmin restaurant in Kuala Lumpur. It's no accident that dancing is a part of the dinner festivities here. Food and dance have a long history together. This kada dance, called the Changgong, was used to celebrate the harvesting of the paddy fields. Much of the local Malay food is pre-cooked and served in large kettles. It's generally spicy with liberal amounts of curry and chili peppers added to taste. The flavor of santan, or coconut milk, runs through much of its food too. Rendang, a popular kind of stew made from beef or chicken, uses santan. Later in the show, we'll visit with a Malaysian chef who will demonstrate the finer points of creating rendang in your own kitchen. A typical helping of food might have liberal portions of fried noodles, mee goreng, mixed vegetables, sayur lodeh, and spicy stewed chicken rendang. Roti canai, originally an Indian food, has become a mainstay of everyday Malaysian cuisine. Roti is bread, and it comes in many different forms. You can find it being made in the streets and in restaurants. Watching the roti man in action is a great way to work up an appetite. But much of the real action in a traditional Malaysian feast takes place in front of where the people are eating. The idea is to take your time and enjoy. Eat a little, watch the dances, eat a little more. Pace yourself, or at least try to. traditional Malaysian orchestra always has an assortment of gamelan drums and gongs. Although it is heavily influenced by the gamelan music of Indonesia, Malaysia's music is a unique blend of Thai and Cambodian court and folk music as well. The adat bersanding is a dance recreation of a traditional wedding ceremony. The newly married couple is seated center stage. Weddings in Malaysia are occasions of great celebration, particularly for royalty, where lavish hospitality and entertainment were, at one time, provided for all comers over a period of months. When we come back, we'll take to the streets for a look at how everyday Malaysia eats. One of the more enduring images of life in Malaysia is the kampong, or village. Surrounded by paddy fields and grazing water buffalo, it is a scene as old as Malaysia itself. The cycles of life continue here from rice harvest to rice harvest. There are constant reminders that Islam is the national religion of Malaysia too. Friday afternoons in Islamic countries are a lot like Sunday mornings in Christian countries. Muslims, much like Orthodox Jews, have foods that are kosher and non-kosher. Because of the strict dietary laws, many restaurants do not serve alcohol. A whole lot of fish and rice is consumed, and chicken too. In fact, you'll find chickens everywhere. Along the two-lane road that runs through the village of Masjid Tanah, you can find stalls selling local fruits and vegetables. The produce may vary from place to place, but this bustling street scene is typical of what you will find throughout Malaysia. In the old town of Malacca, the scene is similar. People do their daily shopping in the early morning before it gets too hot. On a street like this, you can find everything from bananas to sandals. Even the old expression, a bird in hand is worth two in the bush, takes on a special meaning here. The streets are full of surprises. A Chinese funeral winds its way through the crowds of shoppers. Although it blends right in with the noise and clutter of the street scene, the funeral procession is a not-so-subtle reminder of life's fleeting nature. Malaysians eat in three different ways: with a fork and spoon, with chopsticks, and with the hands. A popular item is teh tarik, or pulled tea. Often found at the mamak or Indian Muslim stall, teh tarik is piping hot tea and condensed milk poured back and forth until it's frothy. Part of the fun is to see how far the man can pull the tea. At the Bangsa stores in Kuala Lumpur, there's a wide variety of tasty temptations to be had at very reasonable prices. We found an Indian husband and wife making a bread called Chapati. And there is other kinds of bread available also. Roti canai. Indian pan bread is a crispy layered pancake. Roti jala is another Indian bread. Jala means net. You can see how this bread got its name. A menu written in Malay tells patrons what to expect. This stall, for instance, sells desserts made of fruits, such as bubur cha-cha. early morning at Chow Kit Market, and the business is already brisk. The air is filled with a fascinating clash of noises and odors. It may not look like Safeway or the local A&P, but the morning wet market here functions just as well. There's jackfruit and rambutans, ginger roots, and long beans. There's snails too, soon to become escargot. In fact, there's everything from chicken and chilies to cuttlefish and prawns. Although there are plenty of food hawkers doing business during the day, it is the night that brings out the best of what the stalls have to offer. Maybe it's the spicy aromas mixing with the cool night air. Maybe it's the happy commotion of choices. Like this tasty pancake called a pam balik. It's sweet and crunchy. At night, Petaling Street, better known as Chinatown, is transformed into a free-wheeling marketplace of enticing smells and irresistible bargains. Called a Pasar Malam in Bahasa Malay, you can get almost anything you want here if you're willing to haggle. Frenzied bargaining is common practice here. Among this labyrinth of awnings and hanging clothes, people actually shop for their daily provisions and, of course, they eat. There's every kind of noodle you can possibly imagine prepared in a variety of ways. Young tofu is stuffed bean curd, served with a colorful assortment of vegetables and steamed fish balls, usually eaten with a sweet soya sauce. There is exotic drinks made of local fruits, served ice cold in bowls. Any serious discussion of popular foods in Malaysia would be incomplete without mentioning satay. Satay is barbecued chicken, beef, or lamb served with a peanut sauce. It's Malaysia's answer to shish kebab, and just like barbecue in America, aficionados of particular satay stores will drive miles to get their hands on what they claim is the best satay around. Still a bargain in this day and age. A stick of satay can be purchased for about 50 cents. When we come back, we'll learn how to work a little Malaysian culinary magic in your own homes. Even though there is a remarkable variety of food offered in the streets of Malaysia, most Malaysians still eat at home. Cooking is done exclusively by the women in the traditional Malaysian household. Here in a village not far from Kuala Lumpur, these women have been preparing for a wedding feast for 3 days. A typical Malaysian kitchen is a beehive of activity before a wedding, an occasion for serious and prolonged celebration. Much of Malaysia's social life revolves around food. Not only is there temptations on every street corner and in practically every home you enter, but there's also many fine restaurants. You can choose to eat in 5-star luxury as we did at the Shangri-La Hotel. The service is elegant and the food delicious. Sampling 2 traditional Malaysian dishes here, Rendang and sayur lodeh, we became curious. Could we enjoy food like this back home in America? We asked and were given permission to visit Chef Noor Hayati in her kitchen at the Shangri-La Hotel. She offered to share some of her secrets. Our first request of Chef Noor was to show us how to make the most standard of all Malaysian dishes, rendang.
Okay.